Golden aura shone around the protagonist. The yin and yang symbol glowed brightly behind the protagonist. The protagonist, emitting yellow aura throughout his body, was feeling amazed with the divine veins, the power overflowing throughout his body. The protagonist then glanced at the two sisters who were injured yet relieved that the protagonist could recover. The protagonist, with folded hand, bowed to both the sisters for having gifted him with the divine veins and also for distracting the beast while the protagonist was unconscious and recovering. Sumeo, menacingly glancing at the protagonist, pointed towards the beast and encouraged the protagonist to try to test his strength by fighting the hell beast, who was recovering the fall and was confused. The beast, after recovering, lunged towards the three, with a loud roar and mouth wide open and hands lifted to attack the three. At the same time, the protagonist also rushed towards the two girls who were in the middle of the battle. Then, with swift movement, grabbed both the girls in the waist and jumped on the higher ground. The beast, having no control over its movement, crashed onto the wall. The protagonist, after successfully seeing that they were on top, assured both the girls and then proceeded to deal with the beast. The protagonist then jumped towards the beast to confront it. The protagonist, having gained the divine veins, felt his own strength and power improve significantly, then jumped towards the beast to attack, with his fist clenched, shouting at the beast to try the power of his fist. The beast butted the protagonist's attack with his head and made the protagonist fall. The protagonist noticed that his attack punch had no effect. At the same time, the beast began inhaling deeply and then violently shaking his head, launched strange balls with lightning towards the protagonist. The protagonist ran to avoid the attack while complaining that the beast was hard to deal with. Sumeo, observing the scene from above, reprimanded the protagonist that even the beast was attacking with its chi, while the protagonist was using brute force. The protagonist, after coming to his senses, recollected that now he can use the chi, aside from relying only on brute force. The protagonist, then repositioning himself to attack, felt the aura rapidly flowing throughout his body, feeling as if his body could not contain itself and surging to burst. With the power of chi gathered in his hand, he launched an attack towards the beast. The beast at the same time gathered the power in its mouth and spewed towards the protagonist. But the protagonist, after having connected with the power, felt much faster and avoided the attack by quickly jumping to the ground, and the protagonist, with his chi gathered in his fist, finally managed to damage the beast and defeat it. The protagonist, with aura gathered around his body and hand, looked at his own hands, feeling an accomplishment, probably having the taste of his first glory. The walls shook, the stones fell from the top, falling towards the direction of the two girls. Sumeo, panicking, shouted at the protagonist for having been careless, mentioning that the place was about to collapse. The protagonist, sensing danger, jumped and flew towards the two girls, proclaiming that he would get both the sisters out. Sumeo threw a ring towards him, asking him to put a drop of his blood in the ring, in order for the ring to recognize him as his master. Sumeo adding that the ring was a storage ring. The protagonist, heeding the word, bit his thumb. Below, the beast, who was also recovered, ran with fear towards a hole. Meanwhile, at the top, both the girls and the protagonist looked at the falling stones. Sumeo advised that they needed to leave before it became late. Sister Bai Yuyu also nodded in agreement, after which both the sisters transferred into yellow and dark light and absorbed themselves inside the storage ring the protagonist wore. The protagonist, strengthening his body with the energy of chi, proceeded to jump and escape while thinking of his father and Shen Xiang. After escaping the hell area, the protagonist was seen filling a bathtub inside a room with the bucket. After readying the water, the protagonist called the girls, informing the water was ready, at the same time pondering if the girls wanted a bath, they could have chosen his family's place, which could have been more convenient. Sumeo reiterated that their identities will have to be hidden from others to avoid dangers. Sumeo then calmly and gladly removing her cloths moved towards the tub, saying that she can finally have a bath. The protagonist, flustered, asked whether he should guard the door to cover his embarrassment, but Su Meo asked him to stay, while Bai Yuyu, wrapped in towel and feeling annoyed, asked the protagonist to turn around and close his eyes. Both the girls got inside the bath side with relief and pleasure. Su Meo, while inside the bath, voiced out that she had something for the protagonist. The protagonist, while covering his eyes and with reddened face, asked what it was. Su Meo then asked him to come closer to her. The protagonist, with reddened cheek and eyes closed, walked towards them and leaned down towards her. Su Meo asked him to lower his head a little more so that her fingers could touch his head. Su Meo, with her finger touching the forehead of the protagonist, passed on her spiritual cultivation knowledge to the protagonist, while stating that she herself practiced this method of cultivation and asked the protagonist to practice it accordingly. The protagonist sat beside them to cultivate. Su Meo then recommended the protagonist make his true chi flow in his body and feel it. The protagonist obliged and then told that he could feel fire wildly surging inside his body. Su Meo acknowledged that it was true chi and said that, though the protagonist started it quickly, he needed to keep practicing it to control the power. Bai Yuyu added up that Su Meo used to be an alchemist and the protagonist should try those methods, but alchemy required great talent, and stressed that he should not force himself to learn it. The protagonist, in amazement and appreciation, told that the method given by them were amazing and transmitting many information, and asked whether they were of 8 martial realm or above. Su Meo with amusement replied that above the mortal martial realm, there are true martial realm, the nirvana realm, and so on, adding that the path of cultivation was much longer than he thought, that the continent where the protagonist lived was just a mere drop in the ocean of the entire martial arts world. Bai Yuyu spoke up saying that their enemies could destroy the strongest man he ever knew with a snap of their fingers, reminding that it was dangerous to reveal their existence to anyone, even including his loved ones. The protagonist, dazzled, said he thought the 9th rank mortal martial realm was a peerless master, but after hearing the two sisters, he concluded they were just too weak. Su Meo, however, comforted the protagonist, saying that the protagonist need not worry as he had yin and yang divine veins, and advised him to practice the 4 symbols of divine arts and alchemy, and he would become a god of martial arts world.